Alright, so for this last video, I'm going to do the binding. Just wanted to make sure I've installed the Mgear skin tools. You don't need this, you can just use regular old Maya paint weighting, and to be honest, I'll probably use that for most of this, but it's kind of a useful tool to have when you're painting your weights. So, let me see here. When you're selecting your joints, and let me just make them visible here. So, X-ray joints. When you're selecting the joints for binding, it's very important not to just select them. They brought in this selection set down here, and if I open this up, there's a bunch of different menus here. These are all of the joints that would be bound. So these are the deformers, so the skin cluster information will get associated to this. So I'm going to right click on this and select set members. That's going to select all of the joints that we would bind to. And then we're going to select the geometry. And we're going to go skin, bind skin option box, bind to selected joints. And then we can just kind of figure this stuff out. I think this is an enclosed mesh, so I could do something like geodesic voxel. It might take a couple seconds to do that. It's a bit long. Neighbors, that's fine. Maintain maximum influences, make sure that's off. And I think I am going to try geodesic voxel. I might need to pause while it's doing it because it might just take a second or two. Well, let's check out the new computer, see how fast this is. Oh, wow. That was fast. I wonder if I need to do it again. So I'm going to select a controller here. And I'm just going to move it around. It was fast, but you know, is it good? Part of it is good actually. The leg is not too bad, but obviously it's grabbing some stuff here. I'm going to undo that. I'm going to try it again with just a bit of a higher resolution. So let me just try this again. So select, set this, and apply. Now why is it giving me an error this time? Power of 2. Okay, well, let's try it one more time then. Now this does have a skin cluster. Let me just undo it again. So skin, unbind, just be on the safe side. One more time. Okay, this might take a second. It's just a more refined map this time. Yeah, I can hear the CPU going. It's getting up to 60 degrees. So I'm going to pause just for a second, because I don't know how long this is going to take. Okay, that actually only took a minute, not even. It felt longer, but I don't know if it's going to be any better though. Let's check it out and see what happens. Yeah, it's not much better, to be honest. Parts of it are pretty good, but you know, parts of it, especially in through here, not so good. How about this stuff? Yeah, it's not so good in there. Parts of it are good again, but you know, lots of it aren't. With the tail. Turn that off, gimbal. What about the head? Yeah, so parts are okay and parts, you know, could be better. Okay, so weight painting time. I'm going to go into my Mgear skin tools, and I'm going to initialize my skin and go into paint. All right, so we'll see all of the different influences here. So I'm going to go into the spine, which is just right here. There's not very many joints, which you know is a little bit of a relief from the auto rig. So let me see here. Now, for some reason, oh, there you are. No, for some reason, I'm not seeing a spine. I guess there isn't a 3, right? There's a 2. There's a 4. There's a 1. I'm going to type in spine. There's the 3. Okay, so I'm going to go and just start painting some influence into those specific weights. I will mirror stuff eventually, so I can just focus a little bit more on the one side. I don't want to get into the leg though, so just be careful with that. So I'm going to go with a bit of a smaller brush. I can always smooth across all of the weights too, which is kind of a handy thing. And let's go, that's 3. I'm going to go to 2. There we are. And I'm going to paint just a little bit more influence to 2 here. And I'm going to go over to 1, which is this guy. Paint a little bit more influence here. Now I don't have to smooth every time because there is a way I can smooth everything all at once when I'm done. Alright, so let's see now. It's pretty good. Now here, this is moving a little bit too much in the front, so let me just go back in here, paint. So let's see, 4. That's this one. So I'm going to paint more to 4 here. And I might end up painting a bit more into the controls in through here, maybe a bit more. Maybe into the leg a bit more here. Cool. I can see there's some problems right in through here. So you can't go back and forward, right? You don't have to just use the one or the other. I could go into my weight hammer, and I can just hammer some stuff too, right? If I wanted to go in and kind of refine a few things this way. Just be careful with the hammer because it can mush stuff up pretty quick. In this case, you know, I think that's going to be good. Now, in real life, you know, they can't do this, but if you're doing a cartoony cat, which you are, then this is pretty good, right? Zero that up. And then same with the neck, right? We want to be able to do this with the neck. So I did do a blend shape originally. I noticed it's still here with this file. You might want to do something similar, just so that as the neck moves forward, you know, this blend shape can activate, right? So it's controlled by the rotation of those joints there. Just so you get a nicer straight pose, but it's really up to you, right? I would do a bit of a blend. Some teeth floating around there, but that's okay. Now this stuff is going to be a bit of a disaster. Well, I should probably scale this down a bit. that's a bit of a disaster at the moment. You know, the weights are actually pretty good, to be honest, but this stuff just moves way too much. And I think you can control it up here. Let's see, maybe it's this stuff. Yeah, there we go. So a little bit better. Now let's see. So 10. Let's go 5. Let's go 0.5. Let's go 0.2. 5. So I'm just going to reduce everything by half. And it's better, right? It's a little bit better. Now it's cool, it'll push the lips around just a bit, which is kind of neat, but I don't really want that so much. So, I'm not sure which one that is. Is it vertical translation, maybe? What happens if I go really high with that? No, one's the highest. That's too much. Now let's go 0.01. Yeah, I think that's it. Well, there we go. That's what we want. So 2 is good. All right, and we can just constrain the teeth into, or bind it to the associated joints. Good stuff. What about the ears? All right, so, you know, they're working, but we need to paint more to this stuff. So I'm going to go back over here. Paint. And I'm going to go into the head now. And I'm going to paint more into the head. And then the ears. Well, there's only one ear joint, which is interesting. I thought for sure I put 2 in there. But I only have 1, so I'm not sure what this guy does then. So you might need an extra joint maybe. So a good thing you're saving out your guides. 0. Ear 0. I want ear 1. Maybe that didn't get included. So I would just go in and add that in. So we can still use that. So you don't have to redo it. It's there. We can definitely just use it. It's just a matter of adding that in. Right? And just, you know, making sure this stuff isn't moving so much. There we go. I don't know what's going on. Oh yeah, these guys are big. I must have gone back in time a little bit too much here. I'm just going to scale those down. I'm going to save, and I'm going to do what I did before, which is move these guys out of it. And save. Okay, let's see here. I think we're getting there. Now we've got some extra controls in here. Right, these are all good stuff. Now there's a hip control back here, right? So we'd probably want to paint some weights to that. So again, we can use the regular old weight painting stuff, or we can use the new stuff. So I'm going to use the new stuff instead. All right, so here, let's see, let's go back to spine. Spine 0 is this guy. So I'm going to go just a little bit more spine 0 in through here. Not too far up into the leg though, because it does have to rotate. Now there is a cool thing we can do. We can actually smooth everything all at once under here, smooth. And we can do our smooth iterations and apply. And you can see it. It just kind of nicely blends everything together there. So getting a little bit better, I think. Maybe, you know, maybe not. I might want to do like a delta mush eventually. I'm definitely going to want to do a delta mush on the tail, right? Because there's some funky stuff going on. But that's working a little bit better. This stuff, you know, we could definitely use the hammer on. So skin. Right, just to get that stretching a little bit nicer. I don't think any of your characters have that, so you don't have to worry about it so much. Cool, right? And then to mirror the weights, just make sure everything's in a default position. That's very important. So everything needs to be perfectly back to default. And then selecting it. And you can mirror it through the NG Skin Tools. There is a mirror feature here. So you're mirroring an X, positive to negative, right? So if you're not sure, just look at the gimbal. Positive is the side you're on, so this is positive, and we want to go to negative. That's the side I've been painting on. And I think that should all just be good. So mirror. Yep, and it's perfectly mirrored now. Right. Let's blend that in just a bit more. Cool. Don't forget Delta Mush is your friend. When you apply Delta Mush, you could paint the influence of it as well. So deform Delta Mush. So now that we've got that Delta Mush, let's see what happens. Right, it's a little bit better. Now we could definitely paint weights a little bit nicer as well. Let's see here, if I start upping my smoothing iterations on my Delta Mush, right? I'm going to get really nice deformations there. Now it will mush your legs a little bit, so with Delta Mush, or any of those guys, you can go in and paint the influence. Right? Because sometimes what happens is you'll lose volume, right? Like this, where we're losing a little bit of volume in the legs and the arms. So you go in and you paint your influence. So just right click. If you're in a default pose, you can do both sides at the same time. So paint, Delta Mush. Go into your paint options, and we're just going to turn on understroke reflection. Right, so we can do both sides at the same time. Just got to be careful, it's a little bit funky. It's Maya's original 3D paint tool. It's basically the bones of this. And I just want to paint 0 in some of these areas, or maybe not 0, but like a low value, like 20%. So things like the knees and then through the feet, they're going to get a much lower value, where I don't want it to be as Delta Mushy, right? And same with the front legs. Right? I don't want this stuff to be as Delta Mushy either. So you see this where it gets a little bit funky. So that stuff, you know, I just want to paint that back. The head, you know, probably I don't want it to be quite as mushy, but I don't know what it looks like at the moment. Let's find out. You know, that's not horrible, right? It's not bad. So maybe that's okay. What about this? I don't think we painted the eye sockets, so I think that's not actually going to do anything, so that's fine. but that looks pretty good, right? And even this looks pretty good, right? So you even have to do a little bit less blend shape and stuff. And that looks good. What about the tail? The delta mush fixed the tail. It did. Look at that. Perfect. Right? Delta mush is your friend. I probably have one less joint than I need for the tail, but you know, that would have to probably be redone. Cool. So I think this is almost done. The only thing that we didn't really paint are the toes, right? So these would need to be painted, so you could maybe not. Look at that. It just kind of works. All right, we're good. No toes. At least the back toes work. I think it was that voxel that we did, the voxel binding, and that looks good too. So just make sure you're hiding your joints when you're animating. Turn all of this off except for the curves, right? So you're only selecting your controls, right? And that works pretty good. So remember, you got your elbow offsets, you got your elbow pull vectors for the knees and the elbows, right? And this is just a little bit of a nudge control, so you can kind of nudge things around in case you need to hit a very specific pose, right? So you can kind of control this a little bit. And the cool thing is it's a little bit volumetric too. And same with the knees. You can kind of nudge, like these are your main knee controls. That's what you would use. But then you can nudge these guys around a little bit if you needed to get a very specific cartoony pose. Right? All right. 20 minutes. Not too bad. Not too chabois. You know, obviously you could use some blend shapes, do some blinks and stuff like that, but this is definitely ready for blocking. All right, I'm going to stop the video right here. Okay, cheers.